Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's that time of the week. It's Sunday evening. It's time to talk about everything X-Men. Obviously, here to talk to me about the latest issues of X-Men and X-Force is the X-Men historian himself, the Marvel aficionado, Doc. What up, buddy?
What is going on, sir? Thank you for having me back, and let's do this shit.
This is not a very good week.
No, it isn't.
So I've got to be honest. X-Men number 4 from Gerry Duggan. We have Javier Pina in his art. We knew we weren't going to get Pepe Larraz as the artist for more than 2 or 3 issues because that's just kind of what they do with that guy. The art is not the problem in this comic book. Javier Pina is not Pepe Larraz in my opinion, but he did a perfectly serviceable job. The art looks good. But This story, it's beyond filler. It's filler, but it's worse than that, Doc, because we get absolute, like, apparently Gerry Duggan's never heard of this villain called Nightmare.
Yeah. Nightmare has a long history. I get that they're trying to do something here with, making the X-Men actually feel like part of the X-Men or like the Marvel universe with bringing him in because Strange. Yeah, because Strange is dead. But this is not the Nightmare that I ever remember from any of the comics. I swear to God, it was just like he was like, I don't know what he was trying to do with this character.
Nightmare is in his realm, in the dream world where he lives, is one of the most powerful beings in the entire world. He's a very powerful demon. He's been able to subdue like 4 or 5 heroes at the exact same time. He's that powerful. When you are in his battleground, when you're in Nightmares, he's essentially you cannot overcome him. He can steal your astral projection and fucking torture.
Yeah. And in this comic, he was just like really lame Freddy Krueger.
Well,
like
it's worse
that's
than
what
that.
I felt like. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, like the girl like in the neighborhood, didn't all of a sudden grow up and be a giant, and she's like, "You're nothing, Freddy," and beat him up in the Nightmare world. She had to drag him into the real world to be able to finally hurt him.
Yep. And
he's got Jean Grey on the ropes in the Nightmare world, and she imprisons him. That's not what telepathy is.
No, I mean,
God.
The Nightmare realm and the astral plane are not the same thing, Gerry. There's a reason why I call you generic Duggan, dude, and it's because you don't seem to... You think everything's exactly the fucking same. My God, like he conflates all of these different things into being the same thing.
I get that he thinks Jean Grey's and Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Or apparently that's what he's trying to make her, but if you go into Nightmare's world, if he comes into your world, obviously Doctor Strange isn't there to protect people, you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly. And in this, he got straight up punked by a chick that,
she slaps him in the face multiple times, then slaps his horse on the ass and sends him on down the road, and he couldn't do a thing about it.
Yeah.
It was pathetic. I was furious.
I looked at this and I go, Jesus Christ, dude. I get it. Look, all this is all of these issues, every single issue now, we're 4 issues in, and it is completely, I guess you could say, confirmed my theory that Gerry actually has no interest in writing the X-Men here. He wants to write this villain story, and I'm okay with that part. Then stop putting the fucking X-Men in it. Just don't. Like, because every issue, it's X-Men easily defeat some absurd threat that doesn't move the plot along at all, just so that he can get to the last 8 pages of the comic and push the plot forward. Yeah. Do something interesting with these, like, handful of villains he introduced in the first issue.
Well, we'll get to that, but I just want to say this. Nightmare is one of the cooler villains that Marvel has. You never get to see it.
No.
He never comes up. They almost never open the toy box and let Nightmare out to do anything with him because there's only a few characters, few heroes in the entire Marvel universe that he can't just wipe the floor with.
Yeah.
So if you don't have time to bring Doctor Strange in, you're kind of screwed with using the character. And to bring him in here and you finally let him out of the toy box and then you have him get absolutely punked, it defines down the character of Nightmare and the threat that he represents. It defines down the accomplishments of Doctor Strange and the protection that he provides when he's alive as the Sorcerer Supreme. And it makes Gerry Duggan and the editorial team on X-Men look like a bunch of fools.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it there. I mean, this was just pathetically done.
Yeah. So there are a couple of other parts. The main portion of the story, which I guess is supposed to be like a Halloween story, like why you were doing filler at issue number 4 is beyond me, but whatever. As a Halloween story, it sucks anyway. Even if the Nightmare was a new character that was introduced. But getting into the last part, there's one of them that's interesting, and that's when Billy York, he's at a gravesite. It's Nathan Summers, and he's dug it up, and he's obviously he's investigating: are the mutants resurrecting? How are they doing?
Yeah,
it's 2 or 3 pages, maybe.
Yeah, like that was solid. No, I still have issues with the fact that he was even at Nathan Summers' grave, considering that there is no way in hell Nathan Summers would have been buried in a public graveyard that he easily could have accessed.
Seems odd.
Yeah, Cable would have been buried on the Xavier School grounds. If he was ever buried, it was done.
Well, because he's got all this future technology and stuff. It'd be like leaving the Terminator just out for anyone to find.
Yeah, exactly. They would have. Well, the school had a graveyard on it, and it was used for many years. And there's no way that they wouldn't have buried him there. So now that was obviously just done so that part of it was done.
That was
an
actual subplot, Doc. That's how you do a subplot. You do a couple pages to remind Ben Ulrich is still doing this investigation when we finally come out and he makes it public.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's like we've finally gotten back to doing subplots. We've just done it at the expense of an actual fucking plot, like an A plot.
Well,
there's no A
I'm doing
plot.
subplots. I don't need a real story.
Yeah, no, you have to do both. I'm sorry. Now, it's like, well, yeah.
This last subplot we got to get to. We've got Fei Long. He's not giving up on Mars. Well, I guess it's Arakko now. I did not like this at all. It's been done so many times. He's heading to Mars. He knows that it's full of mutants and he won't be able to withstand them as he is. So as he gets out there, he starts collecting cosmic rays and runs them through a ruby or something to make them more powerful so he can gain powers.
Well, this one, actually, you know what? I think you're missing one part of that. It was ruby quartz, which is the same stuff that Cyclops uses to control his optic blasts. I think he's trying to kind of become a mutant version of a member of the Fantastic Four, essentially.
Yeah, I get it. They've done the collecting cosmic rays enough.
I understand that. I mean, it hasn't really been done much in X-Men. So, okay, I'm giving him a little bit of a pass on that because it hasn't really been done in X-Men. It was always much more of a Fantastic Four, Avengers, that, normal Marvel Universe portion. That's something that one of their villains would have done, not something an X-Men villain would have done. So it was unique for an X-Men villain. He's basically trying to, I'm thinking that this is just the first step, though. He's going to be doing a bunch of other experiments to basically turn him into a mutant cosmic being. That's what he's going for, mix the mutant stuff with the cosmic stuff and hope to make himself godlike or something. I'm not entirely sure what his plan here is, but it's intriguing enough to me that I'm gonna
it's better than
the
go
with
Nightmare
it.
story. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major improvement, and but Jerry, for fuck's sake, dude,
This comic
A
blew.
plot
This is like a
and
1.5
B
star
plot.
comic. The art saves it from being a half star. Is virtually nothing redeeming about the damn thing.
Honestly, though, this is exactly what we've gotten in the first 3 issues. None of this is any different.
Oh no, I think those were much better, and the weaknesses were hidden much better. Although the last one did suck, this one is way worse.
But I mean, it was still in all 4 issues now. No purposeful, meaningful A plot. It's just they're all just a mechanism to push the subplots. Which okay, fine, but then again, for the second time, just cancel X-Men and make it X-Men villains. Make a monthly X-Men villains comic. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, this comic absolutely stuck. I did not like the last X-Men, and this one is really, really bad. This is like Leah Williams, Teenie Howard, Gerry Duggan on Marauders level bad.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I guess X-Men's going to be shutting down for January through March again.
Yeah.
The only thing, but they're going to be doing the X-Men Dark Reign or Devil's Reign or whatever the hell it is, Reign
Whatever
thing.
Yeah. Devil's Reign.
I don't care.
Yeah. Let's get into X-Force. This is Ben Percy. We have Martin Coccolo on art. Certainly not as bad as Gary Brown, but not nearly as good as Joshua Cassera. The art's perfectly forgettable, but does not distract you from the story going on. There's some interesting things going on here. You actually had the groundwork or the idea for like one killer kick-ass comic book, but Ben couldn't decide what this issue needed to be about, so he decided it needed to be about 3 things equally, which I think really detracted from it. This should have been, it would have been cool if you just had the little Black Tom guy inside of Beast hunting down the other character and going through his body parts, and it could have been really exciting. And then you introduce the other 2 subplots a little bit, but I think they dropped the ball.
I think that this is Ben realizing that he wasted a lot of time with a bunch of pointless plant shit earlier, and now he realizes he's running out of time before all the X-Men books go on hiatus. So he's kind of got to wrap this up in about 2 or 3 more issues. So he's really kind of stuffing plot advancement stuff in there at a little too high of a rate because he wasted so much time earlier. I mean, the pacing of the series has been pretty bad, and this one wasn't all that much better. In fact, it was probably a little bit worse. The thing with the nesting dolls, I understand it, but that's just filler stuff. Nothing was learned out of that.
It could have been a fun adventure, though. That's what I'm saying. You could have had a fun comic book that had an adventure that would have been enjoyable, with a couple of subplots, the other 2 stories that were going along. But you weren't able to flesh it out. You get a couple of interesting scenes and it's over.
Yeah, exactly. And it needed to advance something. It needed to advance some sort of plot, some sort of something, some sort of story, because it didn't. It could have been just a simple adventure. We've had too many of those issues, though. We've had too many of those issues with not enough issues of X-Force left before it goes on hiatus, that they really needed to just focus on the McHale story and, have the Russian nesting dolls basically taken out in like the first 2 pages so that they could have focused on the rest of the stuff that, because that is a much more interesting plot at this point.
Yeah, they don't have enough time for it. And
they don't.
It's kind of weird. We don't know what the Chronicles' powers are. It certainly feels like, I think we get a better idea that he is controlling Colossus.
Yes, obviously.
Direction of his brother, and his brother has him leave some paintings out. I'm still not certain why Kayla was so upset about the paintings, and then he has him murder her.
Well, she was upset about the paintings because she didn't believe that Colossus was the spy. That he was spying for Russia. And the paintings were of stuff that was going on. And so instead of taking pictures,
Okay.
he was painting them, because then they couldn't track that. There would be no digital signature or, any of that stuff that would be coming from photographs.
Yeah.
So she was upset that she feels like, oh no, he actually is the spy that I knew he wasn't, whenever, because remember early on,
I don't remember, man. This thing has gone in so many different directions.
I know. Well,
I remember Colossus being important a year ago.
Well, he got arrested by
I remember.
Yeah, and they accused him of spying for Russia, and then they vindicated him, because they did like a psychic interrogation or something, and he had no whatever. And I guess the scribe or chronicler or whatever the shit this dude's name is, his influence, Colossus forgets about it, or like he's not aware subconsciously or consciously that he's doing these things. I don't know. So then he's,
I don't find
a
that
psychic.
all that interesting. That's probably why I've.
It's really not that interesting, but I guess the point.
But he murders
is
his love, and he puts it in a shallow grave.
But again, this one is one where I couldn't bring myself to care. No. I'm sorry, you haven't made me give a shit about Kayla. I mean, she's just Colossus blue girlfriend.
I feel bad that Colossus murdered somebody and he's got to cover it up.
Exactly. But the thing is, he doesn't even remember it. But the thing is, like, the whole point of that is, it's not like he's even going to have like the guilt of it later, because A, first, that they could resurrect her, and B, he doesn't even remember that he did it. The same way he doesn't remember spying and drawing those painting or painting those paintings to send off as, spy shit to his brother unknowingly. None of this, and they haven't made me give a damn about Kayla. Like she's just some random blue girl that Colossus hugged until she died, and then they could bring her
mice
back.
and men.
Yeah, he's suddenly fucking Lenny.
There's another story. Which one is the other story arc? I've already forgotten.
What the hell was the other story?
I don't know. There's three of them. I know that.
I honestly don't even goddamn remember.
All right, pound it up, Doc. I'll figure it out. I'll remember here in a second. Talk about something. And you were really interesting.
I am terribly interesting. I honestly don't think that there is another.
There is this other subplot. I remember it.
What the hell was it, man?
There's three of them. What do you think about Titty Howard going over to DC Comics?
I think that they can have her, and they're having, oh dear God, just stay there. I don't care about DC, but it's like DC saw everything that Marvel has done for the last decade and said, hey, you know what? It's turned out really terrible for them. So let's do exactly the same thing and hope it turns out the exact opposite way.
I know I'm really excited about this.
I know I'm really not giving a shit about her gone. No, the whole thing is, Tinny. I'm waiting for them to take Jason Aaron. They already took Tom Taylor, and you're getting Tom Taylor.
Well, they got Matt Rosenberg. You know what? You're right. That's the only two plots.
That was the only two plots. I'm like sitting here like mentally going through this comic.
That should have been. They should have sold that for 50 cents.
It should have, because none of it was important. And
it was much better than X-Men.
It was better than X-Men, but it was two plots, one of which didn't matter. It didn't further anything at all. The same.
But it has the potential to be fun. We haven't had fun in an X-Force comic in a while.
That is a good point. I mean, it could have been fun, but with only 2 or 3 issues left, I need some goddamn plot advancement, because where are we going to start the conflict with Mikhail? Sorry.
Yeah.
When's it going to ever happen?
Ben Percy's just going to leave you there with blue balls for 3 months while you're waiting for the X-Force to come back.
Maybe. If so, I'm not coming back.
I've heard you say this before, Doc. You always come back.
I didn't come back to.
Exactly.
Oh shit! You're right.
You know what? That's this week at X-Men. Who gives a fuck? It wasn't very good. X-Men was absolutely atrocious. This was Leah Williams, Tinny Howard, Gerry Duggan on Cable level fucking writing. Definitely a step down from what he's done in X-Men. He does not get the character nightmare at all. And X-Force, while much better, was utterly forgettable to me.
It was, I mean, to the point where we actually had to mentally invent a third plot just to make it interesting.
I thought there was a third plot that was the reason it could be interesting. I was like, nope, it just wasn't interesting.
Nope, it just wasn't interesting. Get better. You guys suck.
Be butter, X-Men.